This is the plaintiff, Marcia Fine. She says she agreed to rent a room from the defendant and was assured there were no smokers in the building because she's a health freak. Turns out the lady directly across the hall was a disgusting chain smoker. She hightailed it out of there, and now the lying defendant won't return her security or unused rent. And she's suing for the $850 she's owed. This is the defendant, Solof Syed Ahmed. She says she was at school, and out of nowhere, without any notice, she gets a text from the plaintiff who tells her she's moving out. The woman demands her money back then. Is she kidding? She can't just up and leave and expect her money to be refunded because now she has to find another renter. She's accused of smoking out a tenant.
All parties, please raise your right hands. Ben.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff says her landlord promised there'd be no smokers in the building she rented. She says the person right next door smoked like a chimney, but the defendant says the plaintiff had no right to bail. It's the case of smoker. She hardly knew her.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Marcia Fine?
Yes.
You're suing Salaf Sayedabman for $850, a security deposit, and rent refund for half of the month because, according to you, the place was unlivable and misrepresented to you. Tell me what's going on.
Okay. On September the 10th, I went to see the place. We signed, as a sublessor, we signed an agreement.
May I see it?
It was just something on paper, and here's a copy of the check as well.
Okay.
Basically, I told her that I don't smoke, and I asked if, she smoked. She said she did not. I asked her if any of the neighbors around smoked, and she said that nobody did. And then
how would she know if any neighbors? How would you know if neighbors smoked? How would you know if a neighbor has a friend who smokes? How?
I don't know.
Did you tell her none of the neighbors smoke?
I know the neighbors don't smoke
So
near
you
me.
did.
Yeah.
You told her the neighbors don't smoke. Go ahead.
So then basically I do voiceovers for a living, among other things. So I record projects and stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that the apartment's, quiet enough so I can do that kind of stuff. Also, I asked if there was Wi-Fi internet in the apartment. So she said, yes, there's Wi-Fi. And she says, yes, it's quiet. And I was there at night. And I could see that the apartment was quiet. So when I came on the 16th and I saw that I called and asked for the username and passcode for the Wi-Fi. And she told me then that the Wi-Fi hadn't been working for a couple of days.
Okay. And go on.
Okay. And I also record, voiceover, so I wanted to make sure the place was relatively quiet. She said, yeah, and I was there at night. So during the day, when I was moving in on the 16th, I noticed that the windows constantly rattle from the traffic on the bridge. I believe it's the Gowanus. It's right outside the window. So they constantly
A picky
rattle.
person like you needs to see it in the day and the night.
Apparently so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so it was rattling, and now this.
So the windows rattled, so I wouldn't be able to, record there. Actually, the woman also across the way.
Did you tell her that you were going to be recording in your home, and so it had to be studio quiet?
Yeah.
Because you have eyeballs and you see the Gowanuses outside your window. So
I did. I'm not familiar with the area, so at night.
You have eyeballs?
Yeah, I have eyeballs.
Okay, so that there's a highway right there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but at night it was
good. Then tape at night.
Quiet.
Okay, right. But that doesn't then tape at night is the answer. But if you have if you were running a business out of your room and you need it to be a certain way, then you really need to be a little bit more careful about, because what ends up happening? You move in and what?
Okay, so she's pissed off because she rents a place and it's too noisy and she's a voiceover person and she lives by a highway. Reaction to that?
Absolutely not. She should not be able to break the lease. I mean, it's her fault. She should have checked out the apartment before she rented it, everything like that.
How hard is it to check out an apartment when it's right by the highway? What do you do?
I'm sorry.
Open your... What do you do?
I think she should have known.
You open your eyes, right?
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay. That was a trick question. Going inside the courtroom.
She tells you, well, Wi-Fi hasn't been working a few days.
Right.
And you tell me about the smoke.
Okay. So I know the first thing I noticed really on the 16th when I moved in is that the neighbor directly across the hall, there was like well, here's a picture. There were a bunch of cigarettes, and I later saw her standing right outside the apartment door.
Is that an inside hallway?
Smoking.
Or
Yeah,
is that
inside hallway.
so she's smoking and ditching her cigarette on the floor?
Ditching her cigarette on the floor,
Well,
and
that's-
smoking, so it's going right under the doorway to the apartment.
Wow.
Literally
She
standing
can't be
outside,
bothered to walk outside?
pacing. I don't know.
What's with that?
Maybe that's the girlfriend or something.
Maybe what?
The girlfriend, because there's a girlfriend next door.
Have you ever seen all those cigarettes in front of the...
Once in a while, not always.
Did she ask you about cigarettes?
I don't remember. But because I have asthma, so I don't smoke or nothing like that.
Right, but did she when I asked you earlier whether she asked you if the neighbors
I think
smoked,
she
you
did
actually
not.
admitted to
Yeah.
answering, yeah, the neighbors don't smoke.
Smoke.
So if
'Cause
you had
she's not the
seen
neighbor,
this,
she's the
I'm
girlfriend.
talking, hold on, will you wait until I'm done with my question? If you had seen this occasionally, then why would you give her that kind of guarantee? You know, you're just asking for a problem because she's gonna end up leaving because it's important enough to her to have brought up. What happened with the internet?
The internet was fine, and after a few days, something happened to it, so I had to change it.
Had that ever happened before?
Clear, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So now
So why didn't you just tell her, well, I have internet, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't? Why didn't you just tell her that? Which would be truthful? Because you wanted her money? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sometimes it works, sometimes, so I don't know if it's
I
not
know.
gonna work.
Why didn't you say that to the person who specifically asked you whether you had internet? Instead of saying, yeah, no problem, we have internet. Why didn't you just tell her we have spotty internet? Then she would have moved on somewhere else. She wouldn't have rented from you.
Because this happened once, and it happened for like 5-6 months ago. It didn't always happen.
Okay. So you don't even move in, according to you.
I moved in that day. I was halfway moved in, let's say. And then I realized, because of the number of those things, that it wasn't acceptable.
I'm not really concerned about the noise from
Right.
the highway that you
I
didn't
understand.
notice. I don't
Right.
consider that to be like a
I
misrepresentation.
understand.
That's your own problem.
Of course.
But the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi you're just basically rolling over on, and the smoking you're basically rolling over on. So what this lady's asking for, I'm sorry, hold on. So what this lady's asking for, she wants her security deposit back. Did she damage the place?
No.
Okay.
She never-
And you haven't given her any of that. And then she wants a rent refund for the second half of September, even though you were in there how many days?
I mean, okay, the 10th we made the agreement, the 16th I was moved in, and I was out the 16th, so really 6 days.
Okay. You were out the same day you moved in?
I had to.
Okay. So she was there a week, but she's willing to pay you 2 weeks and just wants the other 2 weeks back. What is the problem? Why won't you pay her any of her money back? But more importantly, let's talk about the security deposit. Why won't you pay her back the security deposit?
Because she said she's gonna stay here for 7 months, so she promised me she's
Yeah,
gonna
but
stay.
you don't have a 7-month lease. You have a
No.
month to month,
Yes,
and you
yeah.
have a problem with smoking and Wi-Fi, which you promised her. So, but you understand security deposit has nothing to do with that. Mm-hmm. Okay, lady, do me a favor. Let's get both of us out of our misery. $850 verdict for the plaintiff.
Well, let's find out what the defendant thinks just happened in the courtroom. What was that?
I don't know,
How did that go? How did that go so badly for you so fast?
because of the internet.
Why couldn't you have just been totally honest with the plaintiff?
Because the internet always works, so that was the luck that our week didn't work.
All right. Okay, so come on in here. What do you make of this?
You know, I thought the judge was great. She was really fair, and I'm pleased. I'm pleased with the results. Yeah, I'm happy. Thank you.
You blaming the internet too for everything?
You always blame the internet, or you could blame the cigarette smoke. You could blame anything you want, but
The internet.
Yeah.
Let's blame the internet.
just do that.
Harvey?
So if smoking is really an issue for you in an apartment, what you should do is put it in the lease. I mean, put it in writing where you make it clear exactly what your expectations are and what happens if your expectations aren't met.